Welcome to episode 2 of Hobby Market Watch for Collectors. This is the only channel on YouTube where we are talking about the evaluation of the overall hobby and market, but we are looking at this from the point of view as you and I, the collectors, and we are focused on looking at foundational cards, the cards that are the bedrock of what this hobby is built on. In today's video, I have 5 cards I want to talk about. We're going to do an evaluation of what those cards sold for in the prior week. And there is a new segment we're going to be doing. We are going to be doing a predictive model. Today we have one card that we're going to look at. It's a card that actually sells at auction tonight. If you do watch this video on the 13th, Monday, there is a Tiger Woods rookie card that is set up for auction, and we'll talk through what we believe that card is going to sell for. We're also going to talk a little bit about what the fair valuation of that card should be based upon some of the information we've already talked about on this channel, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. As it is right now, let's go ahead and jump in, take a look at these 5 cards that sold this week that we believe are foundational cards for this hobby. First card I've got for you guys is a Jerry West rookie card. This is the 1961 Fleer card. This is the portrait. There is also an in-action card, which typically sells for about 50% what this card sells for. But this is in a PSA 5. It's a beautiful looking card. Certainly one of the must-have kind of foundational cards of the NBA or basketball hobby. This card sold this week back on the 7th for $1,475 at eBay on a best offer situation. Prior to that, the card sold just a few days earlier, back on the 5th, also on eBay at auction for $1,550.25. Now, our predictive model, and let me take just a quick moment to re-explain the predictive model. We've been building a formula or a series of formulas where we take the overall marketplace, we look at the specific sports marketplace, we look at the actual cards marketplace, and we run it through a series of formulas which will provide us with a predictive price of what the current evaluation of these cards should be. In our Chasing Majors predictive price, we had the evaluation come up at $1,500 prior to the card selling on the 7th. So when you look at the last 2 sales of this card, they're pretty much right in alignment with what the current marketplace is here. So both of the buyers did buy pretty much right in alignment with what the current price points are. Of course, we've said on this channel before, we'll continue to say, we are currently in a down market, a very soft market. So there's possibly additional room for this card to come down. This predictive model does look and have some calculations to help predict what the cards should be selling for, but it's based upon what the current marketplace is currently selling at. So $1,500 is pretty much spot on with exactly what the predictive model is telling us. Of course, we also like to post what the all-time highs were. And in this card, the all-time high was $6,800 back in February of 2021. So from the peak market to where we're at today, this card's come down quite a bit, but I still think there's a little bit of room for this card to move even further. All right, the next card, very popular card over the last couple of years. Now, this has been a soft market, specifically for the 2011 Topps update, Mike Trout. This is a PSA 10, very soft market in recent years or recent months. This card is finally selling sub $1,000 in a PSA 10 format. It's come down quite a bit from where it was, just a few years ago. Our predictive price on this card is $900. The last sell was last night on eBay at auction. There was 28 total bids on that card. It sold for $905, so pretty much right in alignment with what our predicted model is. Prior to that, the day before, there was a buy it now on this card over on eBay for $969. Again, not too far off the predictive model. I will share with you guys, I did look at this card a little bit more in depth because I was curious. So I looked at the last 2 weeks, and generally over the last 2 weeks, this card's selling between kind of like $850 and $950. So, that's pretty much where some of that predictive model is landing, right smack dab in the middle. But yeah, we're definitely seeing sales move closer and closer to $800 price points. The $900 sales, though, are pretty much right in alignment with where this card should be selling at based upon the predictive model. Now, I do want to point out that all-time peak, if you were to look at Card Ladder, Market Mover, Sports Card Investor, all-time peak shows $16,000. However, take that price with a grain of salt. That price was a PWCC back when they had the ability to sell on eBay. For folks that may not know, PWCC was kicked off eBay for breaking the terms of service in 2021. And typically, much like Probstein, Four Sharp Corners, Greg Morris, and some of these really big sellers or third-party vendors that sell on eBay that command higher prices, PWCC used to command extremely high prices. There's obviously been speculation towards shield bidding and things like that. But I would share with you guys, I looked at that card and it surprised me that the all-time peak was as high as it was. When I went and looked at the days preceding and the days prior to this $16,000 sale, the average sell price was $7,500. So I don't know that this card actually ever transacted. Yes, the auction closed at $1,600 or $16,000. That doesn't necessarily mean it was paid for. But when you look at some of those tools, it might still show up. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know that that's an actual or a legitimate all-time high. Next card to take a look at, this is an 84 star XRC pre-rookie card, rookie card, depending upon how you want to look at it. I'm going to reference it as the XRC. This is a John Stockton XRC PSA 9. Only in the last 18 months or so has PSA started regrading these star XRC cards. Of course, there's some really big XRC cards. There's the Jordan. We talked about that in last week's video. There's this Stockton. There's Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, James Worthy, Isaiah Thomas. A lot of yesterday's generations, real big names kind of had rookie cards in or XRC cards in these star cards. I mentioned in last week's video when we talked about the Jordan card, I fully expect these cards will buck the trend. And what do I mean by that? I think these cards are going to sell well or for higher premiums, even though the overall basketball market will continue to drop and the overall sports card market will continue to drop. But because because PSA recently started grading these cards again, I think that we're going to see kind of a micro market build. We'll see new all-time highs. Now, I don't have an all-time high listed on this card because these cards didn't sell all that often. PSA graded them many years ago, and then they've only recently started regrading them in the last 18 months. This card specifically sold over on Golden Auctions this past Thursday, the 9th. It sold for $2,750 at hammer price. You need to tack on about $650 worth of buyer's premium. So this card sold for nearly $3,500. The projected price, I will fully admit, we had the projected price at $2,200, which is considerably off, but the sales data is not all that vast. So the predictive model that we use, it's looking at historical data. Of course, when there's not a lot of historical data, then it's unfortunately the predictive model is going to be off. Now, the sell prior was an eBay sell, and that sell was over a year ago. It was October of 2022 for the PSA 9 version of this card. So that sell was at $2,250. Of course, a year later, it sells for nearly $3,500. So we'll keep our eye on these star cards. I do think that they will buck the trend. And I think that there's still decent value kind of investing into these from a collector perspective. Next card I want to take a look at is this wonderful T206. This is the Piedmont back of the Ty Cobb bat off shoulder. Now, T206s, there's multiple Ty Cobbs. This is my personal favorite version of the Ty Cobbs. And the Piedmont back, of course, depending upon which tobacco company it was, there were different backs. Piedmont's one of the more common backs that there are. The grade on this was a 2.5. This sold over at PWCC's auction just this past Sunday, last night. It sold for $5,160. Again, tack on about 20% buyer's premium. You'd be looking at about another $1,000 on top of that. The sell prior to that was over at Heritage Auctions for the exact same price point, $1,560. Again, tack on another $1,000 for buyer's premium. When you tack on those buyer's premiums, it pretty much aligns with our Chasing Majors predictive price, right around $6,200. All-time high of this was $7,200 at a hammer price, closer to about $8,600 all in when we look at the buyer's premium being added in. And that all-time high was back in June of 2022. Next card is the Walter Payton rookie card, 76 tops. This is a PSA 8. This also sold over at PWCC on the 12th, which was last night. Hammer price on this was $1,110. Tack on another couple $100 worth of buyer's premium moves this card up closer to about $1,350. Our projected price based upon current market conditions and the overall evaluation of the card was actually closer to about $1,000, was $1,050. Now, the prior sell was just a few days earlier. That was at Golden Auctions back on Thursday. That prior sell sold for $999.18. Again, tack on about $200 worth of buyer's premium. All in, that card would have been about $1,500. So it's closer to our projected price. I would share, when we look at this the higher graded Walter Payton marketplace over the last 3 months, it's actually been trending slightly up. And so, when we're looking at cards, sometimes they're in a slight upward trend, even though the greater market is moving down. This happens to be one of those cards. That's why I wanted to pull it out and talk about it in today's video. All right, new segment for this video series. We're going to call this Predict the Price. Of course, I would be looking for you guys to suggest cards. If you want to suggest a card for either the market evaluation section or for the Predict the Price, you can always shoot me details about that card at info@chasingmajors.com. Don't just send me a hyperlink. I won't be clicking hyperlinks. Send me the details, what auction house it's at and what the details are of the card. I'll go find it on my own. If you do, let me know what your YouTube name is, and I'll give you a shout out here on upcoming videos. But for this segment today, we've got only one card I want to be talking about, and this card actually completes tonight over on eBay. At the time that I pulled the screenshot, there were 0 bids. We've got about 3 hours left on this auction at the time I'm recording this video, and there's still 0 bids. Now, the buyer has a starting bid of roughly $7,500, or right at $7,500. And that is actually what our Chasing Majors predicted price has in our model. So we do believe there is a good chance this card will sell. I would share that when I looked at the last few transactions, specifically the last few eBay transactions, each one of those were at auction and each one of those sold with only one bidder. So there is a good chance we will get one bidder to put a $7,500 price tag on this. Now, even though I think that that's what the current market is for this card, I don't think it's a great price for this card. On my channel, I did a video probably about 4 or 5 months ago where I shared a perspective about the overall card market, and that we had somewhere between 75 and 80% of the market still had a potential to come down. So where we were at that moment in time, we still had a potential of major decreases in the overall market. And that was based upon an evaluation of about 660 cards. I've done an update to that video since, but when I take a look at this card and I run it through that evaluation model, the fair market value for this card as we move into 2024 is closer to about $5,000. Now, if you didn't see that video, let me just be very brief. Basically, we went prior to COVID and we were looking at the trends of those 660 cards. And what we noticed is those cards were growing at a 9.5% year-over-year increase. If you erase COVID as if it never happened in the crazy marketplace that we've dealt with, and you just continue to add on that 9.5% year-over-year increase, that's where we get that fair market evaluation. Was it a perfect evaluation? No. It's an interesting evaluation because it really did align exceptionally well prior to COVID. So with that 9.5% evaluation, that's where we're coming up with that fair market value, closer to about $5,000 as we move into 2024. The interesting thing is, as we move into 2025, the card would be worth about $5,500 based upon that evaluation. But if somebody buys this card tonight for $7,500, there is a good chance that they're paying 2028 or 2029 prices. So what the card would have been evaluated at in 5 years from now is what potentially some collector may pay for this card. Now, I do think if somebody buys this card, it's probably going to be a collector. It's going to be a collector who wants this. It is a PSA 9 and not a PSA 10. A lot of investors and dealers want that PSA 10 versus the PSA 9. Of course, you're going to pay a higher premium to those cards. But the other reason why I think that if somebody buys this, it's possibly a collector, is for an investor to buy this card. If they were to turn around and relist it on eBay, they would need to sell this card for $8,500 just to break even. Now, I realize eBay is not the only place to sell cards, but it's the largest marketplace in sports cards. So if you're paying as an investor $7,500 and you don't believe that there's a ton of immediate growth in this card, which the golf market has been really hampered and the overall sports card market is extremely soft. So I don't know that investors are going to be paying this price knowing that they need to sell the card for $8,500 just to break even. How do I come up with that $8,500? Some of you may be wondering. Essentially, most eBay sells for a card of this value, depending upon if you're a premium seller or not. But you're basically, the total eBay fees is right in that 13% interest, or that 13% rate. So you tack another 13% of fees on top of this to break even at $7,500, you'd have to sell it for $8,500. So to make money above and beyond that, if you're going to use eBay as your sales platform, an investor would have to believe that the card would sell for $10,000. And right now it doesn't look like that's where we're at. The last sell on this card was $8,200. That was back in June of 2023. Golf market continues to get soft. Tiger Woods essentially is the golf market. So as we continue to see his market soften and soften, the overall golf market is continuously softening because he makes up 90% of the value in the golf market. So peak sell though, interesting. $17,000, multiple transactions right around that $17,000 price point in 2021. August of 2021 was the all-time high, right around $17,220. So this card's already depreciated $10,000 from the peaks in a PSA 9 format. And I do believe it's going to continue to get closer and closer to what the fair market evaluations are. And that's when I will become a buyer, is once we start getting closer and closer to fair market evaluations. So interesting. Keep an eye on this one. Of course, we'll talk about it in next week's video. If you guys have any suggestions that you'd like me to do a prediction on, feel free to send those cards my direction. Again, info@chasingmajors.com. Or if you have a card that you want me to do kind of a post-cap prediction on, or not prediction, but market evaluation on, send me those cards as well, and I'll try and get them on the channel. Of course, make sure you're a subscriber. Let me know what your YouTube name is, and I'll try and make sure that we get subscribers, cards onto the channel with a shout out to you guys. I think that's what I got for you guys for this video for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video series. I'm enjoying making it. I think that we've still got some things to continue to grow the videos. So I hope you're seeing some value or some entertainment. Appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you're still here at this point in the video. And yeah, we'll chat with you guys in the next one. Keep an eye on the Tiger Woods card. We'll see what it actually sells for. Chat with you guys next week.